After that truly depressing start, let's try and get a proper game in. So here comes game 2, and we're in progress. I'm playing against Muffin Core, who's rocking Blue Sun, and I've got a film critic and some economy and an R&D interface. So again, I want to keep this same approach as last time: jam the R&D interface, try and force him to res some ice into the face of a run to recoup the cost of those credits, and then just start building my rig up as fast as possible. Muffin Core saying that Nasir's a pretty good counter for him. I'm not really sure how true that is, but he's certainly going to have some big ice with high res costs in there, so hopefully at least I'm going to make some money from Nasir's ability in this game. So jam the R&D interface, jam the film critic, run so I'm on no credits. If I get a res here, great. If I don't, I see 2 cards, which is great. So restructure and a cerebral, which I'll trash, and then I'll draw, because I don't want to get sea scorched. Okay, he's on 20 credits. Now I'm very scared. Obviously, he is going to try and murder me in this game, so we'll put down our emergency economy and just draw up. I'm really at this point thinking, yeah, I need to find a plascrete fairly quickly. The issue here, of course, is that I can't really leverage Nasir's ability particularly effectively. He's really going to want me to make successful runs once he's got the Sea Scorch combo in hand. So what I could do is run at his R&D, take the money if he reses it in front of me, but if he doesn't, then I have to jack out. That seems like a bad use of my time. But if he's installing another ice, then I guess my hope is that he is worried about losing agendas and he doesn't have the kill. So I'm going back in, see if I can get a res. He's going to think about it. Res a changeling, and I'm going to get 5 credits. So +5 for Nasir, and then I'll bounce. What I could do here is just jam the second R&D interface. Oh, there's a technical writer. That's always a good thing to see. So yeah, now I'll just jam that. Obviously they're not super useful at the moment, but once I can bypass his changeling, being able to essentially get free Maker's Eye runs, and we're still kind of in credit from Nasir's ability, so not feeling too bad here. The Jackson's going to almost guarantee that runs after this are done under the umbrella of me being scorched out and killed. Fortunately, my deck is very kind and delivers Plascrete right on time. I do goof up there and forget that Plascrete's 3 rather than 4, and so take 2 unnecessary credits off my Armitage. But I'm feeling much safer now that I've got some kind of protection. He's going to ice up his Jackson. My intention wasn't really to run it anyway. My guess that he's just installed a Chrysium grid, and that's going to shut down any potential Maker's Eyes, of which I have none, and not do much to shut down my R&D interfaces. So now my issue is that I need to find a self-modifying code. I can't break any of his stuff at the moment, so it's time to start digging through my deck, looking for an SMC, so that I can re-engage my attack on his R&D. And obviously the advantage that you have playing against Blue Sun, especially a Blue Sun that you think is going to try and murder you, is that they're not putting a huge amount of pressure on you. The majority of their agendas in there are going to be 5/3s, so they're not going to see them very quickly, and when they do see them, they need to score them out of a scoring remote. Okay, that's an oversighted curtain wall for a whole bunch of money, but sure, that's fine. There's very little we can do about that. He doesn't really need 30 credits to kill me I'm capped out fairly heavily here. Okay, there's an order of salt, so we can install that for 1 by just clicking for a credit and then installing it to gain the 1 back off it. And draw one of our redundant Aesops. Yep, he's on 32, so the shadow of an exploded house looms large over Nasir Meaden. But yeah, he doesn't really have much to do. He's building a scoring remote. I'm not really pressuring him because I'm not able to. There's a dog. Not a very useful dog, but sure. There's a self-mod. So we can jam that. And then what we're hoping to do... what we're hoping to do is just gain a bunch of money, rig up with some dogs, and then re-establish our attack on R&D. Yeah, it's me trying to figure out how Order of Soul works. This is the first time I've ever played with Order of Soul. It's surprisingly effective. Again, if you're happy to be operating on 0 to 1 credits a lot of times, it's like a ghetto version of Kate's ability. So it's not a terrible card, especially for Nasir, who is so often at 0 credits, including when his ability triggers. Interesting. So if you're already keeping me out, maybe he's just trying to tax out some of my stuff. Yeah, he's gaining 1 million more credits from his Hadrian's Wall, but at this point the credit differential isn't something that is a big deal. Okay, so we draw a levy, we install the dog, and Order of Soul gives us a credit back. What? Oh, yeah. So what we're going to do now... Yeah, I screwed that up. Ideally, what I wanted to be able to do is at the end of the turn... Oh, I fetched a Cujo. Okay, that's all right then. Yeah, so what I wanted to do was go get a lady to break the changeling. But there are 3 ladies in the deck and only 1 Cujo and 1 Rex, so that's not the worst thing I could have done, I guess. If I can just draw naturally into the lady, then I'm all set up to begin my assault. I've got 2 scavengers in hand, so I'm not feeling like I'm going to be run out of tokens anytime soon. Yeah, he's just piling down a huge set of ice on R&D. Another technical writer and a cache, so sequence that nicely somehow. Yeah, we're going to keep the credits on the cache because that gives us some protection against errant archers and things. Being able to take those credits off the cache after the corp has rezzed ice but before you encounter it, that can be pretty important in a deck where that means that you might be on 0. Like a cache with credits on is the only way Nasir beats a pop-up window the first time he encounters it. Or Order of Soul. Order of Soul will do it as well. So again, our opponent not really doing anything apart from threatening our impending doom. So we're not really incentivized to give him opportunities to kill us. What we really want to do is just be patient, make him essentially put the pressure on us. When I'm in this kind of situation, really what I want to do is just make my opponent build a scoring remote and try and score some of those 5-3s out of that remote, because lacking in the defensive upgrade tools that a lot of Glacier decks have, specifically Caprice and Ash, all he can really do is rely on his ice keeping me out. And if his ice can't keep me out because I've got breakers for everything and enough money to break his unrezzed ice, then eventually he's going to either have 5 agendas in his hand or he's going to have to start scoring them. So yeah, so he's installed something in there. My worry is that it's a Project Atlas. So I've dumped a Deus Ex. Not really sure why I installed that. Maybe just to get my credits as low as possible. And then a run on server 1 to see whether I can cash in on a res. And I can, big time. Nasir gains 14 from Curtain Wall, so at plus 19 credits from Nasir's ability, all ready for this game. And now I'm going to do something unconventional, which is, my thinking is, okay, he's given me these 14 credits, how about I spend 13 of them on an Atman at 10 to blow through that curtain wall. In hindsight, oh, he does advance it. Okay, so yeah, so my thinking here is it's definitely a 5-3. I definitely want to go and get it. Let's hope that he can't keep me out. So yeah, I'm at 0 memory, so now I'm trying to figure out what I should do, and I decide to trash that instead of just taking the money off the cache. But with an unresed piece of ice, I was going to lose the money off the cache anyway, so I don't know. Like, I've now got the money to break, which I could have got off the cache, so yeah, that was a really bad sequence of plays by me. I should have taken the money off the cache, used that to break through that Atman, to break through that curtain wall, and then I would have kept the Deus Ex in play. I mean, obviously it's not something that you normally need in this kind of matchup, but it was just a mistake that I made. I should have sequenced that much better. So at this point, he's thinking, I guess, whether to res the ice in front of his face down card. I mean, if this is an agenda, he definitely wants to try and keep me out, but the question is whether resing it will actually keep me out. So he reses it, it's a curtain wall, I gain 10, and yeah, so Nasir's ability now earned 29 credits this game. Surely it's got to make it the best ID ability of all time. But no, it also keeps me out. So now I desperately need to find a lady, because there goes a prior rec, and the prior rec reses an Orion. More bad news. So yeah, we need to look for a lady. Okay, Astrolabe's alright. Yeah, again, not really sure. I'm not playing at my best here. I think it's important for me to point out that not only was I ill, exhausted, and hungover while playing this game, I am in fact still suffering from the vestiges of the cold which I had while doing it, so not exactly playing at my best. So yeah, the opponent is just cycling through stuff. I'm still desperately trying to find access to a lady so that I can start making runs. So, having dieseled into a self-mod, really the smart thing to do is... Oh, and also note there that I forgot to eclipse my my cache away. And that's actually going to slow me down by a turn as I decide, yeah, I want to do something with that. Also notice that at this point, really I'm running out of things to do with my money, short of... oh yeah, so here we go. I'm going to install the self mod to allow me to fetch up a lady next turn. So yeah, opponent probably sitting with some agendas in hand, though they've been through 2/3 of their deck now. They've been discarding fairly heavily into archives, but with no Jackson in play, my assumption is that there's no agendas in there. So HQI would be a nice find. Aha! I diesel immediately into the two ladies. So I go fetch a David. I install a lady, so good use of all my credits there. The question is whether I want to run on my last click or not. That seems like a dangerous thing to do against a Blue Sun deck, especially one which might have errant snares running about to tag me and make it easier for him to blow my stuff up. So we'll play cautiously. We're now fully set up. He should not, in theory, be able to score any more agendas from behind that remote that he's built. He's obviously made my Atman at 10 a bit worse, but with scavengers in hands I can reset that if I need to. So the smart play for me here is to just be cautious. I can just sit back, let him make the first move, put stuff in his scoring remote, and then I can go get it. So drawing the HQI makes me feel a bit frisky. I'm thinking, oh, there's probably some agendas in HQ. I should go and see whether I can win the game here. Unfortunately, this is really, really... So there's the Sea Source and there's the Scorched. So hardly surprising. And all I've done here is give him an opportunity to fire that stuff off. So here it comes. This is obviously the opportunity he's been waiting for. So Sea Source lands a tag on me, which I can't prevent. There's the Scorch. Now we don't want to prevent any here if he doesn't have the second one, but the downside is that we're going to lose a whole bunch of important cards. In fact, there goes our Levy and two of our Scavengers, and there's the second Scorch to make us use the Plascrete. So the problem we have now, we'll just draw up and clear our tag. The problem we have now is that with the Levy AR Labs access gone and the Plascrete gone, once Muffin Core recycles his kill package back into his deck, we are living on borrowed time. We are now not able to sit back and camp his remote, because if we run his remote and take 3 points off him, he can then just kill us in response, and we wouldn't be able to prevent that. So there's the install advance. So we have to do some checking, so I'm just going to go and check his archives. Yep, and there's nothing in there. There is a Cerebral Overwriter, but it seems far more likely that he's got a handful of agendas, or he's trying to score out here. So yeah, Atman at 10, not really accomplishing much at the moment. And I need 3 credits to match strength with Curtain Wall. I need 4, so I need 7 credits and 3 dog tokens to get through his scoring remote. So yeah, now we're going to check his HQ. He's asking whether he scorched my levy away, which he did. Yeah, and oh dear is definitely correct. So I'm still feeling that there has to be agendas in his HQ at this point. So he lets us straight in, which immediately should tell me that there aren't. There's a Crisium, which I don't care about, and a snare. And this is hugely terrible news for me, because I've got 1 credit left, and that means I can't clear this tag. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to lose... yeah, so I think, well, if he doesn't kill... I can't draw enough to avoid being killed. If he's not going to kill me, he's going to take my technical writers away, so I cash at least one of them in, meaning that if I'm not dead now, at least I've got some money at the end of the turn. The fact that he immediately draws tells me he doesn't have the 3rd Scorch in hand, which makes me breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. And so he is just going to pay 2 and trash my 14 credit technical writer, which makes very little... which is not a big surprise. Okay, that's clear. Let's draw. Yeah, again, this is me just mathing out, can I get in here? But again, because of that new face down piece of ice, I can't guarantee that I've got enough credits to get in on my first run. So I'm just filling my hand up a bit here. What I should be doing in this situation is just focusing on R&D. Like, the fact that he's been letting me into his HQ tells me that there's no agendas in there. This is the Jackson, which is going to put back his kill package, I guess. Yep, restructure and 2 Scourgers. Again, I do this quite badly. What I should really have done is challenge his R&D, though his Orion is really making my life difficult there. It's a toll booth. Right, so on encounter abilities fire. I let him unencounter me for 3 credits. And then I, on encounter, trigger Nasir's ability. And then we match strength and go through with the dog. Are there agendas in here? There's a data pipe. And there's a Crisium grid, so yeah. His agenda package, which is probably just 7 3-pointers, the majority of them have to be living in his R&D at this point. Yeah, so here I'm trying to figure out how to get through. I can obviously David through the Orion once. So what's the... dispassionately, I should probably, yeah, be setting up for some kind of R&D run. Or, realistically, what I should be doing is he's just sitting back and trying to deck him, really. Like, force him to put something in a scoring remote, run and fetch that, and then run his R&D. Those are my best approaches. And he bounced the Orion back into his hand, which is a really kind of odd choice. I'm not really sure what provoked him into doing that, but what it did do is provoke me into running at his R&D. Yeah, so because I've got the clone chip on the table, and at strength 10 it's probably not very good to have that Atman. I'm thinking about selling it so that I can recur into it, but I figure there might still be a curtain wall at the outside of this remote, so let's see that first. And he doesn't res, so I suspect that is it. He doesn't res here, so I can match strength and break the changeling. And just hope to see a bunch of agendas. There's 12 cards in his R&D. There's got to be some agendas flying around somewhere, right? So it's the seesaw, so that's bad news. There's the cleaners. Now, I've not seen a punitive, so there's no point in putting it on the film critic. So, having trashed 2 cards, I go back in to try and see a third. So now he's worried that there's a chance that I might snatch enough agenda points to win. So yeah, he reses a data pipe, but the blue dog takes care of that, leaving me with enough credits. There's a hive, and again Nasir's ability gives me enough credits to match. Oh, and I break twice rather than matching strength because I don't need to add 1 strength. That's why it didn't. Okay, and yeah. So we plough through all of those. I'm telling my opponent that I used too many dog tokens, so he can let me through this changeling. And yeah, with 10 cards in his deck, and probably 6 agendas, because there's got to be a government takeover in there, right? So 5 3-pointers and a government takeover. So there's a punitive, a scorched earth, but sadly, as Muffin Core says, I don't win here. The government takeover is obviously somewhere in the deck. With 2 clicks remaining, I know he's got sea source and punitive coming. So I go and check his archives. He's obviously got no agendas in hand. So I steal another copy of the cleaners, but at this point I know the game is over. I'm now just thinking, can I get in for 1 run to go and see what's in his HQ, but obviously the toll booth will stop me dead. I've got... Actually, the toll booth wouldn't have stopped me dead. I could have David through. I should have done that. Yeah, that was... and yeah, here comes the punitive to make it official. I get blown up. I should have been... It's a difficult situation because having lost my levy and my plascrete and all my scavengers, I wasn't really in a position to just camp his remote because I knew that I was going to get killed. So yeah, that was a tough one. What I really needed to do was essentially win the game in 1 turn. I'm just asking him whether it was another shattered in the remote, and I thought so. So yeah, so 0-2 with Nasir, though that one a little more competitive before my house got burned down. Hopefully we'll stop playing people who want to kill me and maybe try and win some games on agenda points, or lose them on agenda points at least. Okay, on to game 3.